Hi, welcome to BrushMyQuant channel. In this video, we'll be learning about positive and negative numbers. So let's start by understanding the different types of numbers. So if you look at the number line, we have 0, we have a lot of numbers on the right side, and we have a couple of numbers on the left side. So if you look at the different types of numbers, there are actually 3 different types of numbers on the number line. So you have numbers which are positive numbers. So those are the numbers which are to the right of 0. So all these numbers to the right of 0 are actually positive numbers. Then we have negative numbers. These are all the numbers which are to the left of 0 on the number line. So all the numbers to the left of 0 are actually negative numbers. And then you wonder what is 0, right? So 0 is neither positive nor negative. So we have 3 types of numbers: positive numbers, which are towards the right of 0, negative numbers, which are towards the left of 0, and then we have 0, which is neither positive nor negative. Now let's also understand a bit more about 0. So 0 is neither positive nor negative. 0 is an even number, right? This is a confusion which typically students have, where they either think that 0 is positive and then think that 0 is an odd number. But that is not the case. So 0 is actually neither positive nor negative, and 0 is an even number. For all values of x not equal to 0, x raised to 0 will always be equal to 1. That means if we have numbers like -1 raised to 0, that value will also be equal to 1. If you have something like 2 raised to 0, that value will also be equal to 1. Division by 0 is not defined. That means I cannot divide a number by 0. So this is not allowed. So whenever there is a problem which involves a denominator, we always need to make sure that the value of denominator is non-zero. Then only we'll have a valid expression. Now let's learn some properties of positive and negative numbers. So let's start with addition. So positive number when added with a positive number will yield a positive number. Let's take an example. So 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, and all 3 of them are positive numbers. A positive number plus a negative number can be a positive number, can be a negative number, or can be 0. When will it be positive? When the positive value is greater than the negative value, right? So let's say if I have 5 and if I'm adding -2 to 5, then I'll get the value as 3, which is a positive number. When will it be negative? When the absolute value of the negative number is actually greater than the absolute value of the positive number. Example, if I'm adding -5 with 2, then I'm going to end up with a negative number. When will it be 0? When both positive and negative numbers have the same absolute value. That means if I'm adding 5 plus -5, then this value will be equal to 0. Similarly, negative plus positive number can yield a positive number, a negative number, or a 0. Same numbers you can take as an example as we have taken in the previous one. Negative plus negative will always be a negative number, right? So if you're adding, let's say, -2 and -3, you'll end up with a negative number itself, which is -5. Let's talk about subtraction. So positive minus positive can be a positive number or a negative number or 0. So in the first case, we can take example of 5 minus 2, which is equal to 3, which is a positive number. In the second case, we can do 2 minus 5 to get a negative number -3. In the third case, when we have to get a 0, we can take both the values as same. So 5 minus 5 is equal to 0. Positive minus negative number is always a positive number because negative of negative will become positive. Let's take an example. So 2 minus -5, this will become 2 plus 5 or will be equal to 7, which is a positive number. Negative minus positive will become a negative number. Let's take an example. So -2 minus 5 will become -7, which is a negative number. Negative minus negative can be a positive, can be a negative, or can be 0. So when will it be positive? So if we have -2 minus -5, when the absolute value of this negative number is greater than the absolute value of this negative number, then it will become positive. So this will become minus 2 plus 5 or will be equal to 3. When will it be negative? We can reverse the numbers. So minus 5 minus minus 2. So it will become minus 5 plus 2 or equal to minus 3. When will it be 0? When both the numbers are same, right? So minus 2 minus 2 if we do, we will get the value as minus 2 plus 2 or will be equal to 0. Let's talk about division. So positive divided by positive is a positive number. Example 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3, which is a positive number. Positive divided by negative is a negative number. Example 6 divided by minus 2 will give us minus 3, which is a negative number. Similarly, negative divided by positive is a negative number. So minus 6 divided by 2 is equal to minus 3, which is a negative number. And negative divided by negative will be a positive number, right? So minus 6 divided by minus 2, minus signs will cancel out and we'll get a positive number, which is 3. Let's look at multiplication. Positive multiplied by positive is a positive number. So 2 multiplied by 3 is equal to 6. Positive multiplied by negative is a negative number. So 2 multiplied by minus 3 is equal to minus 6. Similarly, negative multiplied by positive. So minus 2 multiplied by 3 is equal to minus 6, which is a negative number. And negative multiplied by negative is a positive number, right? So minus 2 multiplied by minus 3 is equal to plus 6. Now note one thing here is whenever you have odd number of negative numbers, right, which are getting multiplied, then you will get a negative number. So whenever you have odd number of negative numbers which are getting multiplied, you will get negative number. And whenever you have even number of negative numbers which are getting multiplied, right? So if you have even number of negative numbers which are getting multiplied, then you'll end up with a positive number. Let's look at more properties. So if product or ratio of two numbers is positive, then both the numbers will have the same sign. So if product or ratio of two numbers is positive, then both the numbers will have the same sign. Let's take an example. So if x multiplied by y is greater than 0 or x divided by y is greater than 0, that means both x and y have the same sign. So that means either both of them are positive or both of them are negative. So let's take some numbers. So let's say 2 into 3 is greater than 0. So we can have two cases. Either these numbers were 2 and 3 itself, which are individually greater than 0, or the numbers could very well be minus 2 and minus 3, right? Because their product will still be 2 into 3, but individual numbers were less than 0. Now, if product or ratio of two numbers is negative, that means both the numbers will have different signs. Let's take an example. So if x into y is less than 0 or x divided by y is less than 0, that means both the numbers will have different signs. So either x is positive and y is negative, or x is negative and y is positive. Let's take some values to understand this. So let's say we have minus 2 into 3 is less than 0. Now there could have been two cases, right? Where either this case was minus 2 and 3 as the two numbers, or the two numbers could have been 2 and minus 3, right? Where in the first case, the first number is negative, second is positive. In the second case, first is positive and second is negative. So let's try some problems now. So which of the following cannot be the value of x if y divided by x minus 2 is equal to 5? Now y divided by x minus 2 is equal to 5 is given to us, and they are asking which of the following cannot be the value of x. And 5 option choices are given to us. Now if you look at the problem, we actually learned a theory which says that division by 0 is not possible, right? That means denominator of a fraction can never be 0. That means the value of x minus 2 can never be equal to 0, or x can never be equal to 2, because that will make the denominator as 0, and then we won't be able to evaluate this expression. So in this case, which of the following cannot be the value of x? Answer will be option number B, which is x is equal to 2. Let's try another problem. So given that A and B are positive, so A and B are positive, and C and D are negative, and C and D are negative, which of the following will be positive for sure? And we have to select all possible answer choices. So it is given to us that A and B are positive numbers and C and D are negative numbers. And we have to find which of the following option choices will be positive for sure. And 5 option choices are given to us. So let's start looking at each and every option choice. So let's start with option number A. So A into B. Now we know that A is positive and B is positive, and product of two positive numbers is positive. That means AB is positive. We know C is negative and D is negative, and we know product of two negative numbers is also positive. So this becomes positive plus positive and will be a positive number. So that means A is one of the possible solutions. If you look at option number 2, AB is positive. We already know that. A is a positive number, C is a negative number, and D is a negative number. So we have even number of negative numbers here getting multiplied with a positive number. That means this will also become positive. So I'll end up with positive plus positive or a positive number. So B is also true. Let's look at option number C. This is positive. We just learned that. Now B is positive, C is negative, D is negative. Again, this will also be positive. So we'll have positive plus positive as a positive number. Let's look at option number D. A is positive, B is positive, C is negative. That means we have a negative number here. Plus D is also negative, right? So we have negative number again. And negative plus negative will always be a negative number. So D is not possible. Option number E. C is negative, then we have negative multiplied by negative becomes positive. So we have negative plus positive. Now this can be a negative number, this can be a positive number, or this can be 0, right? So we are not sure, but the question is asking which of the following will be positive for sure, right? So that means this option is not correct. So answer will be option number A, B, and C. Let's try another problem. So is B into D greater than 0? And two option choices are given to us. A into B is greater than 0 and C into D is greater than 0. Now this problem belongs to a problem category which is called as data sufficiency. And in order to answer this, this is how you typically go ahead and answer, right? So answer will be option number A. If statement 1, which is option number A alone, is sufficient to answer, but statement 2 is not sufficient to answer the question. Similarly, answer will be B if statement 2 is alone is sufficient to answer the problem, but statement 1 is not sufficient alone to solve the problem. Answer will be option number C if both statement 1 and 2 together are sufficient to answer, but individually they are not sufficient to answer the problem. Answer will be option number D if each of them alone are sufficient to answer the problem, or if none of them are possible, answer will be E, where neither individually nor together option number A and B are sufficient to answer the problem. So with that background, let's go ahead and solve the problem. So if we look at statement A, it says A into B is greater than 0, right? And we know that there will be two cases here, and both A and B will have the same sign. So either both of them are positive or both of them will be negative. Now in this case, first of all, I don't know the exact sign of B, and I don't know anything about the sign of D, right? So definitely I cannot solve the problem alone using statement A. Let's look at statement B. Statement B says that C into D is greater than 0. That means both C and D will have the same sign. So either both are positive or both are negative. Now, similar to option number A, first of all, I don't know the sign of D for sure, and I don't know anything about the sign of B in this case. So this alone also is not sufficient to answer the problem. Now let's see what happens if we take both of them together, right? So if we are taking both of them together, we'll end up with 4 cases. In the first case, all of them are positive. In the second case, A and B can be positive and C and D can be negative. Third case, A and B can be negative, C and D can be positive. and fourth case, all of them can be negative. Now, if you look at option number 1 and option number 4 in this case, we have B and D positive here and we have B and D negative here. That means B into D will become positive because product of two positive numbers or product of two negative numbers is always positive. And if you look at option number 2 and option number 3 over here, then we have the signs of B and D as opposite signs, right? So B is greater than 0, D is less than 0, or B is less than 0, D is greater than 0. That means product of those two numbers will be less than 0. So even when we are taking both of them together, there are two cases where B into D is positive and two cases where B into D is negative. So both together are also not sufficient to answer the problem. So answer will be option number E in this case. Let's try another problem. So the question is B into D greater than 0? And two option choices, AB is greater than 0. And the second one is AD is greater than 0. Now, if we open the first statement, the first statement will open as A into B greater than 0. That means both A and B will have the same sign. So either both are positive or both are negative. Again, similar to the previous question, we don't know anything about B. So definitely alone, it is not sufficient to answer the problem. The same is statement 2, A into D greater than 0. Either both are positive or both are negative. Again, we don't know anything about B. So individually, it is not possible to solve this problem. Now, if we take both of them together, right? So if we combine both these statements, the difference between this problem and the previous problem is in this problem, we have a common variable, which is A, right? So when we are combining the cases, if we are taking A positive in the first case, in the second one also, we have to take A as positive, right? So we'll end up with only two cases. Either all three of them are positive or all three of them are negative. Now, in both the cases, B and D have the same sign, right? So either both are positive or both are negative. That means the value of B into D will be greater than 0. So we have a definite answer to the sign of B into D, right? We know that it is greater than 0 for sure. So answer will be option number C, because both these statements together are sufficient to answer the problem. Hope you're able to understand all the concepts of positive and negative numbers, and we're able to follow the solutions for each and every problem. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us by commenting on this video, and do like and share this video with your friends. Thank you once again for watching the video.